I'm Katie Uhlmann reporting for Katie Chats at Smithy TV in downtown Toronto. Hi, I'm Katie Uhlmann reporting for Katie Chats in downtown Toronto with KAVEH NABATIAN. How does it feel to be pitching at this year's TIFF Pitch This?
Well, I'm really excited to be here. I mean, it's an amazing opportunity, and this is my first feature film, so to have this kind of opportunity to get a lot of people aware of the film it's amazing.
How did you come up with the title RUMBA?
Well, a rumba is an Afro-Cuban dance and style of music that is like a lot of interlocking rhythms and very passionate. And the film is about the interlocking lives of several characters, and it's very passionate. So it seemed like the perfect title for a film about Cubans, and especially Cubans leaving Cuba, going to Canada, all this kind of like, it's the interlocking rhythms of these characters' lives that is represented by a rumba. And there's rumba music throughout the film.
Do you think a lot of love triangles are formed when people go to Cuba or when people go on vacation and try to come back?
I think definitely, I mean, the reason I made this film is because I was seeing so many of these love triangles. And I think particularly with Cuba, it's something that happens a lot because people go to Cuba wanting to find passion and adventure, and like the Cuban man or the Cuban woman can satisfy that, but maybe the Cuban man or the Cuban woman has an ulterior motive in making you fall in love with them. And then maybe they have another partner themselves, and it's like, the thing is, there's no bad guys in this movie. It's so hard to get out of Cuba, and if someone really wants to, it's one of the only ways you can. Like if you're making $20 a week or $20 a month, you can't save up enough money to leave. So the only ticket out might be for you to seduce a foreigner and get out that way. And so it's kind of about that. It's like no one's actually at fault, and everyone's using each other to get something they need, whether it's to stop feeling lonely or whether it's to get out of Cuba. Like each person's using the other in a certain way, but at the end of the day, they're all humans. And then it's when the symbols drop, and like the idea of the other person drops, and it becomes about two people being together all of a sudden in Canada. What happens when it's no longer just kind of a fantasy? What happens when the fantasy becomes real?
And how did you come up with the term love hustle?
Well, I mean, when you're hustling for something, you're trying to get something. I mean, the film industry is full of hustlers, and isn't always my strongest point, actually. But I mean, so the idea of like hustling with someone's emotions, like making them fall in love with you so you can hustle them, it just seemed like an obvious kind of moniker for it.
Absolutely. And tell me a little bit about your partnership with Pablo.
So I'm a musician. That's like my original job, or one of my jobs. And the first time I went to Cuba, Pablo he's a really important hip hop producer in Cuba. He's produced some of the most important bands ever to come out of the hip hop tradition. And I met him because his ex-girlfriend was a friend of mine. Anyway, so I went over to play on a couple tracks with him, to just play trumpet on some hip hop tracks. And we started talking about movies, and then it turned out that this guy had seen more movies than I had and loved film. And so I was kind of talking about this love triangle thing that I was seeing happening, and he had his own take on it, and he also wanted to leave Cuba. And so, it was kind of a lot about these, we were experiencing the same thing. We had the common interests, but viewed from different angles. And so I think that's part of what makes the film strong, is that I'm coming from this North American perspective, and he's coming from the perspective of a Cuban who no longer lives in Cuba now.
And along the same lines, or along different lines, what was it like for you to win a Juno?
It was great. The sad thing was that, I feel like in my life, every time I don't go to an event, that's the time I win something.
No!
And the times I go and I'm sure I'm going to win, I don't win anything. So the whole band, we were sure we weren't going to win, because we make kind of weird music. It's beautiful, but it's not super mainstream. And so we didn't bother to go. And then it was like that night we found out on Twitter that we'd won. It's like, what? But it was really nice. Like we worked super, super hard, and it was nice to know that the mainstream Canadian kind of outlets were, supporting this kind of music that we were making.
And how has music making influenced your filmmaking?
I think music making has influenced my filmmaking like more than anything else. And I think what makes my films strong is that they're very musical. Sometimes they use the logic of music more than the logic of story, and so maybe that's sometimes a problem. But I think that the flow of my films and the way I bring images together, sounds together, is following a much more kind of musical progression than like a classic, 3-act narrative progression. And I think people always say in music that the kind of music I make is very cinematic. So I think I'm like really interested in where those two arts intersect.
And where is the best place for us to find out more information on you and on the project online?
Well, you can go to my website at www.kavehnabatian.com. Maybe you can flash that then.
Sure.
And I mean, there's information on the TIFF website as well.
Great. Thank you so much. Congratulations and best of luck at the Pitch This competition.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'm Katie Uhlmann reporting for Katie Chats in downtown Toronto.